Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to eazyBI Remote Community Day 2021. My name is Raimons Simonovskis and I'm founder and CEO of eazyBI. And recently we gave also unofficial titles for all our team. And I got my title Remote Work Ambassador. And I have been promoting remote work for all these 10 years. And as all of you know, this has been a remote year for all of us. And we were considering ourselves as remote work professionals, and we knew everything about that. But even for us, it was a quite hard year because we used to meet also about once a month each other and discuss things. And we like to go to the events and meet all of you, our customers and partners. But now when everything was remote, then sometimes we got a little bit boring and not so happy that everything is happening just remotely. And therefore, we, from time to time, we did some remote celebrations. Like this was our Christmas party, where we shared some joy between us, as well as about a month ago, we celebrated our company's 10-year anniversary. And then we got remote cake ingredients and everyone baked our birthday cake and then shared the results, what we got. And today we are having a celebration as well. And today we are having our remote community day event. And now we are meeting virtually all of you, and we are happy to share our experience, our knowledge, and hear your feedback about what we are doing, what are your recommendations, and what is your experience. So let me introduce the agenda for today. So currently you are in my opening keynote, where I will be telling about latest features and future plans. After that, my colleagues Martins will tell how not to reinvent the wheel and how to discover and use sample reports. And then afterwards, Gerda will tell how to paint your data with eazyBI, both literally how to do some paintings, as well as how to better visually represent your business data. After that, we'll have a 20-minute coffee break where you can have your favorite drinks or favorite snacks. But during the break, you can also ask some questions in the chat and we'll try to answer that. After that, I'm happy that during this year's event, we have two guest speakers. The first will be Tom Morse from Hidalgo, and he will tell about redefining project and program reporting, so hopefully with eazyBI. Then Dinah will tell about a typical question, what we get in our support. Help, my reports are too slow, what to do? And she will share some recommendations what to do then. Then Zana and Roberts will tell how to power up your reports with external data and combine the data from different data sources. Then we'll have the second 20-minute break. Now after that, the other guest speaker, Ran Lavi from Methoda, will tell about implementing eazyBI in large-scale Jira instances. Then Lauma will continue with a little bit more advanced topic about MDX and calculated measures and how to discover hidden gems there. Then Yanis will tell about eazyBI for Jira Cloud, Server, Data Center. What is common and what are the differences? And finally, Liva and another Yanis will tell about our way of doing good, how we do pledging 1% of what we do. And after that, I will wrap the event and there will be the closing. So as Evita told, please use Zoom Q&A to ask questions after the presentation about the particular topic. And we'll answer that. But in addition, we encourage to use our Slack channel for today's event, and the invitation is in the Zoom chat, and you can join it there. And after the event, I recommend to use our community discussion forums at community.eazyBI.com. So many of you are already participating there, and every day there are some new questions and answers. And those who haven't used that, I definitely encourage you to check it out. So at first, I will start with some statistics about our team. And so currently, we are 23 people in our team. And those who were last year already know that we have uneven distribution of the first names, and we have a lot of people named Yanis, but I'll not tell about that today. So I wanted to share our cumulative growth over all these 10 years. So as you can see that 10 years ago, so it started with just me, but then we have been growing all the years, and now you see that the majority, the largest teams are developers and support, but there are, and in addition, marketing, design, administration. But then we also recently did some funny statistics about other type of colleagues. So who are our furry colleagues? So that's the quiz time. So everyone is thinking, so which furry colleagues do we have more? Cats or dogs? Dogs or cats? Okay, everyone thought of their answer, so I'll not check you, but the correct answer is cats. So we have 13 cats and 7 dogs. This is also a good example how to use a pie chart. When you have just 2 data points, then pie chart is the best way how to represent that. So if you have too many data points, then please use other chart types. And also, I personally, I'm quite a big contributor to this chart, as previously, so I was not such big animal person, but my family and my children changed that attitude, and now I have 3 of them. So our oldest one is dog, and her name is Beta. And so as she's already 7 years old, so I was thinking that probably it's time to rename her release candidate, whatever. So then the next is cat. And so as you can see, so our cat is the boss of all animals in our house. And so he likes to sit on the top and then look down to these stupid dogs, what they are doing below there. And then a couple of weeks ago, our junior colleague, our puppy, joined our team, and she doesn't have any respect to the older colleagues and is all the time asking some stupid questions to them. So you see that in the animal world, so they are doing similar things as the real colleagues. Whatever, so let's move to the more serious topic back again. And we also did the chart about features released over time. So you see that the blue line is the cumulative total of all the feature ideas that we have had and we have recorded in our Jira instance. And the green part of it is how many we have implemented. And as you know, always there are more things that you would like to do, and you have some ideas what you could do, but you can't implement all of them. But as you see, we have been quite constant that about half of all the ideas we are implementing, and these implemented features have been growing all the time. And so that's what I wanted to share with you at first, what has been the latest features that we have implemented in our latest eazyBI releases since the previous eazyBI Community Day event. So if we look at the list of all the features and bugs that we have solved, so this is quite a big list, and with the links to the detailed documentation pages. So therefore, I encourage you to go to our documentation and search for the changelog, and then you can find and see all the details what we have been doing and read more in our documentation pages about that. But I wanted to go quickly through some main feature highlights of the versions that we have released. So if we start with eazyBI version 6.1, in the main feature highlights where we implemented template accounts, report-specific calculated measures, view calculated member usage in reports and other calculated member formulas, custom property hierarchies in project and user dimensions, and tempo planner and tempo logged by team data import. So if you look at a little bit more details regarding these features, the first is template accounts. And this is especially useful for larger eazyBI installations when you have a lot of eazyBI accounts, but you would like to standardize some reporting over all these accounts. And the first thing is that you can enable this template accounts feature in eazyBI settings. Then you can create some template account, and when editing the account details, mark that this will be a template account. And then when you do the data import, in other accounts, you can select that you would like to import reports and dashboards and calculated members from the selected template account. I also wanted to mention that this was a good example of cooperation with our partner, and especially with Methoda, and especially with Ran Lavi, that will be speaking later today. Because several years ago, when we visited Methoda event, we discussed about the need for such template accounts, and then Ran reminded us all the time that you promised to do something there. And then when we created the first drafts, we reviewed it with him and his team. And finally, it's released. And as I understand, so he'll mention in his presentation about the usage of template accounts. So the next was report-specific calculated measures. And we shortly mentioned that last time, but we released it later in the version 6.1. And this is also a typical problem for larger eazyBI installations, that you have quite a big list of user-defined calculated measures, because some reports need some specific additional calculations. But quite often, some of these calculated measures were needed just in one or maybe two reports. And therefore, we implemented this possibility that you can define report-specific calculated measures, which are stored just for one particular report and is not appearing in the list of all calculated measures. And if you review all your existing user-defined shared calculated measures, you can see if this calculated measure is used just in one report. And if so, it is easy. With one click, you can convert this calculated measure to report-specific calculated measure, or you can see in which other reports or other calculated measure formulas it is used. The next feature was custom property hierarchies, starting with the project dimension. And by default, in project dimension, we provide two hierarchies. One is by projects and components, and the second is by category, where it's summarized by project category and then by detailed projects. But sometimes you might want to do some reporting and aggregate data by additional hierarchy, by some additional property. For example, in projects, we have a property project lead, and you would like to do the summarization by project lead, where all projects with the same project lead would be aggregated. And if you define this additional custom hierarchy, you can use this new hierarchy in the report. And you can also upload additional properties for projects and create additional custom hierarchies. And in similar way, we have introduced these additional custom property hierarchies in user dimensions, and later also we introduced that in sprint dimension, in insight data cube for object dimensions, etc. Now, if we move to the next version, eazyBI 6.2, which were some feature highlights there. It was improved conditional cell formatting. You could change report height in dashboards. We introduced sparklines in table reports and gauge charts. Markdown, HTML, plain text, and dates could be displayed also in gauge charts. As well as we did MDX autocomplete improvements, how to show hidden dimensions and measures, how to autocomplete property names. As well as we added improvements for insight integration, adding custom field attributes and custom hierarchies. And as this version had a lot of visual UI improvements, we got some comments that this was Christmas came early release that we created. But honestly, as it was released in January, probably the better name was that it was delayed Christmas present to you. Anyway, so we got a lot of good feedback about these new UI improvements. And as I mentioned, they improved conditional cell formatting. Previously, we had limited conditional cell formatting support, where you could specify ranges of values and then change this formatting. Now we introduced a lot of different other ways how to define custom conditional cell formatting, either by exact values or using regular expressions or selecting top-bottom values, or as in this example, how to create a heat map based on the actual values in cells and to dynamically color code these values. As well as for even more advanced use cases, you can do conditional formatting using additional custom formula, using the same MDX language that you can use in calculated measures. You can create these custom formulas, and then the result of this custom formula can be used to decide what conditional cell formatting to use. And you will see much more examples of that and practical use cases in the presentation by Gerda. So please stay and see even nicer examples afterwards. The next improvement was how to change report height in dashboards. Previously, by default, all reports in dashboards had dynamic height, which some had by default were taller, some were smaller, and didn't look nice when you put them side to side, as well as sometimes maybe you wanted to provide more space for one report or less space for a different report. And now it is easy with a drag and drop to change the height of the report as needed in a particular dashboard. And also it helps to create better dashboard PDF exports if you want to fit more data into one PDF export page. Then the next improvement was sparklines and also Markdown and gauge chart improvements. And this was also a result of our discussion with another partner, with FlexBI, where we discussed how to better present some data in dashboards. And sparklines is one common way how to do that. So what are sparklines? These are tiny charts which you can embed. In our case, in this case, you can embed them in table cells. And you can easily add them just with a couple clicks using these predefined calculations, and either show some small bar charts to compare visually some measure values, or provide some small line charts where you can see the dynamics of changes of some measures. And then the next improvement was that you can include also the sparklines in gauge charts, as well as you can do more advanced Markdown formatting in gauge charts and make them visually more recognizable when there are some data that you want to point out. And finally, there were several MDX autocomplete improvements. And one of the main ones was for autocompleting property names. As this has been also for our support consultants, they didn't always remember how exactly this issue property was named, and then you needed to look it up or just see somewhere the list of all properties. Now, if you start writing the formula which would get the property value of a particular dimension member, it will give you the list of all property names that you can select from. So if I continue with the next release with eazyBI version 6.3, so which is fresh out from us on the marketplace. It was released last week. And in this version, so there were not so many new user interface improvements, but there were a lot of improvements behind the scenes in the backend of the eazyBI. So at first, there were a couple of renamings that should be done. So as Atlassian is renaming their products all the time, and some of our partners are renaming their products, so we need to update eazyBI to reflect that as well. So we updated in eazyBI renamed portfolio to advanced roadmaps, as well as we renamed Dazer profiles to the new name project track, as well as we included support for new feature and profiles for support predefined fields in project track. Then there was additional improvement for showing import warnings until they are manually cleared. And there were many performance improvements, and that might be the reason why you should definitely upgrade to the latest version. One improvement is that in reports, when you use issue dimension members from secondary hierarchies, for example, subtask hierarchy or epic hierarchy, now this is much faster than it was before. We implemented, if you use Postgres SQL database, we implemented automatic vacuuming of Postgres SQL tables, and it will both reduce the database size as well as make report queries faster from these tables. As well as we improve performance in other areas, for example, in X-ray data import or tempo timesheets data import. So I mentioned the showing of import warnings. So in eazyBI, in some cases, we don't complete the import with error, but we just record some warning that maybe you should take a look on. For example, if we detect that if some issue has too huge change history, we by default will import just 10,000 last change history items, and we store that in the warning. So previously these warnings were cleared after each data import, and you probably didn't notice even then. So now we are storing these warnings, and you should manually clear them. So when you have read them, and they will not be overwritten automatically for by data import. So additional recent improvement is that how we are showing latest data import error status. Because previously, as users are mostly looking at eazyBI reports in dashboards or in the Analyze tab or in report gadgets, they didn't notice that import is failing for some reason, and there are no latest data in the report. So therefore, now we introduced, if the last import has failed, we show these error messages that last import has failed, both in the Analyze tab as well as in dashboards and in report gadgets. And so if you notice them, then please ask your administrators who can check the source data tab and see why the import has failed. So these were a lot of improvements in the functionality of eazyBI. In addition, I wanted to mention that we are continuously improving our cloud infrastructure all the time. As I have presented previously, and as we are writing in our documentation, we are using Google Cloud as our cloud hosting platform. And recently we made several improvements to make our infrastructure more scalable, as well as more safe and against failures, and to make our deployments better. So we have several application servers which serve incoming data requests. We have several child process application server nodes which accept and execute report queries. We have several background jobs which are run on several servers. And also I wanted to mention that this architecture is very similar to the eazyBI architecture in Jira data center or Confluence data center, where you have the you can specify dedicated eazyBI nodes where the child process is running or where background data import is running. So we are testing out this architecture on a very big scale on our cloud so that we can use the same architecture in data center deployments. And then we have several replicated primary database and several data warehouse databases where data are imported. And the improvements that we have made recently, that when we do the deployment, we deploy new code sequentially on each application server child process node, and we wait until the previous request is, all the previous requests are finished, and then we deploy the new code and restart the server. And also the same thing is for the background jobs, that we wait until current background jobs have finished, and then that server is deployed with a new code. And which means that users are using eazyBI all the time, and we can do continuous zero downtime deployments, and no user are experiencing any errors or slowdown due to these zero downtime deployments. Also, we are improving our security, and we have implemented two-factor authentication in eazyBI, as well as we are cloud security participant in Atlasian cloud security program. And we are participating in bug bounty programs by Bugcrowd, and which is organized by Atlassian, as well as in the bug bounty program by HackerOne. And there are really good security researchers and testers who who are specializing in specific type of vulnerabilities, and it is very valuable that they are testing all the time your product and finding any potential vulnerabilities and let you know before the bad guys have learned that. And I also wanted to mention that due to these our sales volume on the Atlasian Marketplace, due to our high quality support, and due to our meeting all Atlassian security and trust requirements, last year we achieved the top Atlassian Marketplace partner level. So we are Atlassian Platinum Marketplace partner, and we are the top BI and reporting tool on the Atlassian Marketplace. So now, when I have discussed what we have done so far, so I wanted to tell you about the upcoming features. Now, also, I wanted to tell that we don't do very long-term roadmaps and planning. We focus on what are the current priorities and based on the customer feedback, what we have received. And now when we are sharing something that it's upcoming, so this means that we have started already doing that and implementing that, and that will definitely appear in the nearest eazyBI releases. So, so these are a couple things that I wanted to share that we are currently working on and will appear in the one of the upcoming eazyBI releases. So as the cell formatting for tables, cells was very well received, so we are continuing to improve conditional cell formatting, but also conditional formatting for charts. And there will be a new functionality very similar to conditional formatting for table cells, also available for charts. Now, when you select for a particular measure a color, you can select just one color, but it will be possible to provide some conditions that, for example, in some exceptional cases, you want to highlight some top bars when you had the most issues created, or when something else happened. So this will be possible with conditional formatting for chart colors. The other new feature is non-empty page selection. So the problem is that when you use several dimensions in pages, for example, projects and issue types. So as you know, in eazyBI, these dimensions are independent. And if you want to select one project, you see the list of all projects. If you want to see select one issue type, you see in the drop-down all issue types. But quite often, just some issue types are used in one project and some others are used in a different project. And therefore, we are implementing this new feature, non-empty page selection. And if you select that, it will be similar to non-empty selection in rows. Then when you select just one project, for example, development project, you will see in the issue type drop-down just bugs, new features, improvements, which are specific to this implementation project. If you will select a service desk project, and then in the list of issue types, you see just those issue types which are specific to this service desk project. So similar improvements will be done for the dashboard common page selection, that you'll be able to use this non-empty selection there. But in addition to that, we will also add a possibility to add and edit common page selection in dashboards. It will make you easier to select particular values that you would like to be presented in the dashboard common page selection, as well as select these additional options. Also in eazyBI, we have the rule that when doing something new, at first we make it possible, and then later we try to make it easy. And this is one example that currently when you want to, with custom fields for Jira. So if you want to customize something that for this custom field, you would like to change the data type or allow something in addition to be as a dimension or measure, you need to go to the advanced settings and then in specific format correctly specify these settings. But quite often these settings are also specific just to one account. And we have seen that these advanced settings list is quite huge for some customers. So therefore, we are introducing this improved custom fields advanced settings in Jira import options. In the same place where you can select which custom fields to import, you'll be able to edit these advanced settings there. And there will be a pop-up, and without knowing the specific syntax how to do that, the most common things you will be able to customize right there. Change the name, change the data type, or size of the maximum size of the value, etc., or add some custom JavaScript code as well. So we are doing the similar improvements also when you upload, import additional data from REST API or SQL or source files import. There will be improvements in source column mapping, where you can clone some columns, because sometimes you want the same column to map both to the dimension as well as to the property in a different dimension. You can easily add some count measures, which you would like to import in eazyBI, as well as in the advanced settings, you will be able to specify some custom JavaScript code snippet, which is specific just to this field. If you want to change something, for example, change to uppercase or lowercase or something like that. And finally, there will be also some smaller improvements, like historically we have had just single save button, which actually worked both as save and save as. And sometimes customers were confused with that, and sometimes also we were confused with that. So therefore, we are going to implement two separate buttons, save and save as, and then the save as save will dynamically show if you have made some changes, it will become available, otherwise it will be hidden. So these were some new feature improvements, and at the end, so I wanted to mention that some changes, and on how eazyBI will appear on eazyBI on Atlasian Marketplace. Historically, and now if you will search for eazyBI in Atlasian Marketplace, you'll find the 3 listings: eazyBI for Jira, eazyBI for Jira Cloud, and eazyBI for Confluence, which is both for server, data center, and cloud. So the reason for that was that historically, when eazyBI for Jira Cloud was released 7 years ago, it was not possible to put everything on one listing. It became available later, and now it is the recommended way to put it on the same listing. And so now, finally, together with Atlassian, we have found a way how we can do the merging it to the same listing. And we'll provide for existing cloud customers later the information that you'll need to uninstall the previous eazyBI app and install the new one. And then for the subscriptions, you will need to renew on the new subscription, but all existing subscriptions will be valid until the end. But after that, so it will be more clear for the future that that eazyBI is available. The same eazyBI is available both for server and data center and for the cloud. And I also wanted to stress that we support all your deployments that you choose, and we will provide new versions and the same functionality both on the server and data center deployments as well as on the cloud. And before I finish, I just wanted to mention that also more training videos are coming. Last year, we introduced the first season of training videos, and now we will release from the second season the first 4 episodes about different other chart types, about gauge charts, scatter and bubbles and timelines, map charts, Gantt charts, and ranges in bar charts. So with that, I'm concluding the overview of what we have done recently, what are the things that we are working on. And I'll be happy later in the chat. I will see, and in the Q&A, we'll see what questions you have. So, and please tell us what you think and ask the questions. And with that, thank you, and I wish you all to learn new things during today.